Hello everyone, welcome back to another randomized book on my TBR. I really need to figure out how to make an intro to these videos. It's March, it is time for me to pick another randomized book from my TBR as I work my way through my TBR this year. Last month in February, I read China Rich Girlfriend by Kevin Kwan. Let's find out what the book is going to be this month. So as always, I will be deciding this with the use of some lucky D&D dice. I will be first using a D4 to determine which of my three main bookcases I will be picking this book from. Obviously, number 1 corresponds to my bedside, nonfiction shelf. Number 2, the shelf behind me. And number 3 to my tall shelf, which we haven't had yet. So let's see if we get number 3 today. No, okay, we got number 1. So we are returning back to my nonfiction shelf. So that means that there are only 10 books actually on that shelf, which I haven't read yet. So we're gonna be using lucky D10. Let's figure out which of those 10 books I'm going to be reading. Okay, so that is number 6. So we are going to be reading the 6th book on that shelf. Let's go on over and pick that one out. All right, welcome back to my bedside table nonfiction section. As you can see, I kind of cleared it up, put some magazines into a different stand so it looks a little bit different, but let's go ahead and count through 6 books. We're going to start from the same thing over here. We're going to start over here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, The Victorian Visitors, Culture Shock in 19th Century Britain. All right, so we are reading our first actual non-fiction type book this month, The Victorian Visitors. I picked this up at a used bookstore a while ago. I am very interested in Victorian literature. That is what my research area is in my graduate studies. So this is going to be a fun one, I think, but it's also, I think, going to be potentially a little bit difficult because it is obviously not a fiction book and not a memoir. So it's going to be very different. We'll see how it goes. And I'm hoping that this isn't going to interfere with all the schoolwork that I have, which is also very nonfiction heavy. So maybe not the best time for this one, but that's the luck of the draw for you. So let's dive in with that. It's hard to give a review of a non-narrative book, but here we go. Victorian Visitors describes the experience of 6 essentially celebrities, including the composer Wagner and Ralph Waldo Emerson, when they visited London to further their careers. Since this book is so focused on their careers, we get a very limited view of England through a traveler's eyes, mainly white and male, though there is a chapter on an Indigenous Australian cricket team and a female Australian dancer. I was a little disappointed by the fact that this book focused so much on the work and not as much on the experience of being in a new country. This book also suffers from being written over 20 years ago. In the first chapter on the painter Géricault, the author explains the painter's obsession with his male assistant's form and a disregarding of the female form, and then follows by saying, "Oh, I suppose we'll never know why he was so obsessed with this man's nude form." Dude, I think we know why. The time this was written is also clear in the scope of whose stories are being told. There were celebrities who visited London who were not white, and it would be interesting to see their experiences. The author states that though racism did exist in Victorian England, the English were always accepting and happy to learn more about other countries and cultures, and to an extent this is true. The Victorians were much more accepting than people assume. However, we can't ignore that they still had their prejudices, despite their desire to make a better world. That's not to say this book is a failure. I actually found some of these chapters on Emerson really fun, and every time he mentioned an author I had studied, it felt like those moments in a sitcom where a celebrity shows up and everyone cheers and you're like, why are they cheering? They haven't done anything yet. I understand why now. That's my guy. It's Wordsworth is here. I also thought the chapters on the Australian cricket team and the psychic were really interesting too. I wouldn't suggest this book as a good foundation to learn about the Victorians and their feelings towards foreign visitors if you don't have any knowledge on the Victorian period. But if you already know a bit about the Victorian period and you want some new information to add to what you already know, then this book is a fun bit of trivia and historical record. All right, and that is The Victorian Visitors, Culture Shock in 19th Century Britain. This was a different one, and I should have known that this was going to come at some point in the year because I have some nonfiction books, so it was bound to come up at some point. Yeah, this was an interesting one. It was kind of a tough point of the year for me because this is sort of exam season, and even though I'm not writing exams, I'm writing a lot of research papers. So doing a lot of reading specifically on a topic that I'm already reading a lot for school was kind of difficult to handle, but it was fairly interesting. I do think it's a bit dated. This book apparently came out in 2001, I think I saw. Yeah, 2000 is what it says. So it is a little bit dated. There are some things about it that I think don't really hold up to the research that has been done, the scholarship that has been done on Victorian literature and history at this point, but for the point that it came out in, it makes sense. You know, I thought it was interesting. I don't know if I'd suggest it if you're totally new to this. It definitely feels like the kind of book that you're reading if you have already studied this kind of stuff before. So if it's not something that you have a little bit of knowledge in, you're probably not going to enjoy it. But if you're someone who has a little bit of knowledge about the Victorian period and you want to learn more about it, then this is a good place to get a little bit more knowledge. All right, guys, so that is it for my randomized TBR for March. I will see you in a month for my randomized TBR for April. If you want to stick around and get notified for when that video comes out, you can go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And I have also been releasing 2 videos every month this year, just so I'm breaking up the randomized TBR videos. So if you want to check out some of those as well, you can. But I will see all of you very soon. And let me know what books you are reading this month and next month. I'd love to talk to all of you in the comments. But I'll see you very soon, guys. Bye!